I will say this, though, and somebody points this out on the text line. Doesn't Tua have only one playoff appearance? Right? It was you're muted, Crowder. It was last year.
KC.
Yeah.
That's his only playoff appearance, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Playoff game.
Isn't it a little silly to say that he can't do it in the playoffs? He can't win the playoffs. He's played in one playoff game in his life.
I had a different point that was more on your side, but I'll say this: he can't get to the playoffs.
That's a different argument than he can't do it in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, when he had a chance 2 years ago, and then Kansas City ran him out of the stadium, and then they lost to the Bills late, and they keep losing to the Bills late. Like those are pseudo playoff games. Those are playing playoff teams.
Well, no, we're not doing pseudo playoff games.
I'll tell you this about Joe Burrow, because I would look at numbers like yards per attempt, because to me, it's an eye test for me. That's what the answer. Like when I watch Joe Burrow play, I'm just more impressed with him as a passer than Tua. And I don't know if it's the scheme or whatever. But when you speak about eye test, I watch Tua every single snap he takes all year. I probably watch 2 full Bengals games a season. So I might be harder on Tua than I am on Joe Burrow, because I just see more snaps out of him. And I've seen those games when he scores 7 against Kansas City in London that time and all that stuff. Like it sticks with me.
But Joe Burrow's got those games. Like he has those. You're just not watching them.
And Joe Burrow has more yards per game than Tua.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that. Like we're really splitting hairs. There's a top.
Well,
there's a top
that's
5.
my only point, is that everyone's going like it's just so. Oh, this is a ridiculous question. It's of course Joe Burrow. We're splitting hairs here.
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
You're not.
I'm saying we are. It's Joe Burrow's what, 7 and Tua's 9. Like it's that close, Solana.
Man, I understand Burrow right now. His team is not having a great year. Joe Burrow is one of the only players to beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs ever. Josh Allen is probably going to end up being a Hall of Famer. Probably. And he's gone toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. How many times? As great as he is, and he's never been able to beat Patrick Mahomes. Joe Burrow did. He's one of the only guys ever, and will probably be one of the few guys to ever beat Patrick Mahomes in a playoff game. And you guys are saying we're splitting hairs about a guy who I genuinely believe is a great quarterback. He's not in the conversation with a top 5 elite quarterbacks in the NFL. He's just not yet. And him not playing playoff games isn't helping you. It's hurting.
It's a different argument than what you're making, which is he can't win in the playoffs. If he's played in one playoff game, make the argument he can't get you to the playoffs, and you're correct. Make the argument that he can't win in the playoffs a little premature when he's played in one.
And I would say that, Joe Burrow beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. No. Joe Burrow played on a team that beat Patrick Mahomes. Did Eli Manning beat Tom Brady? Did Eli Manning beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl? Or did Justin Tuck, Osi Umenyiora, damn Strahan, they beat Brady? He scored some points, and a guy had a damn catch against his helmet that made him win the game. But like that thought of he beat Patrick Mahomes, he didn't beat Patrick Mahomes. His team beat Patrick Mahomes.
Man, it's crazy how history is just being rewritten. Hawk, if the Dolphins, it is, man. They went to 2 title games against each other. 2 times they met in the playoffs. The Chiefs beat the Bengals 23-20 on a last-second kick to get to the title game to win the title game in 2023. And the other time they played in the playoffs the year prior, when the Bengals went to the Super Bowl, it's not like Joe Burrow went out there, handed the ball off 100 times. He beat Patrick Mahomes. He outplayed him in that game. And Hawk, you want to say, okay, Tua has only played in 1 playoff game. You are still looking at a situation where multiple times, not just a year ago, multiple times, the Dolphins needed to win a game to get into the playoffs. Tua's second year in Buffalo, or his rookie year in Buffalo, when they're in the playoffs, they got rocked on the field. Multiple times they've had to beat playoff caliber teams to help them either get into the playoffs or secure a spot in the playoffs, and they've fallen short. Last year was the best example. So the same teams that they couldn't beat in the regular season that await them in the playoffs, you're just going to write that off and say,
well, no. But that's not a fair extrapolation. again, you want to say that they can't beat a good team during the regular season, I'm with you. It's inarguable. But if you want to say he can't win in the playoffs and he's only played in one playoff game, I don't think it's a fair extrapolation to say, well, the teams he's losing to in the regular season are the teams he'd face in the playoffs, so therefore I can extrapolate he can't win playoff game. I just don't think it's fair. It's a texter that pointed it out, and I think it's a fair point. To say that he can't win in the playoffs when he's only played in one damn playoff game is probably a little premature to put that narrative on him.
Solana, 2023 AFC Championship, right? The Chiefs had a better third down efficiency, more yards, more passing yards, better passer percentage, more yards per pass, more yards per play. They had more.
Who outplayed whom?
Patrick Mahomes outplayed Joe Burrow. The Bengals ended up, not playing the well as a team or playing well as a team. It's just, bro, that whole the quarterback versus quarterback thing, it's cute because they're polarizing. But it's not them versus them. It's team versus team.
I feel alive. I really do.
This is crazy. You're saying that Joe Burrow didn't beat Patrick Mahomes. And I'm not saying that the team wasn't good. The Bengals are a very good team. Yes. I'm acknowledging that, but the Chiefs are a very good team. You're telling me that you won't say Joe Burrow ousted Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs because the Chiefs had a better third down conversion rate?
Well, but you said he outplayed Patrick Mahomes, and he just gave you 10 stats that shows you Patrick Mahomes outplayed Joe Burrow.
And in the AFC title game, Joe Burrow went to Arrowhead and beat Patrick Mahomes. What are we doing here, man?
Solana, and I'm on your side. I would take Burrow over Tua. I think it's an eye test thing. But did Brad Johnson, when he's better than all the quarterbacks in 2000, was Trent Dilfer better than all the quarterbacks that he beat? No, their damn defenses played well, and
the Eli Tom Brady thing you mentioned is really, you don't have a leg to stand on that argument just from that Super Bowl alone.
You can't say this quarterback went and beat. No, his team beat him. You can't compare quarterbacks and say. So now you're going to the point that Joe Burrow's better than Tua because Joe Burrow has beat Patrick Mahomes as a team. That's a crazy argument. And I'm on your side of this.
Joe Burrow's better than Tua because he has a better track record when it matters than Tua Tagovailoa does. And any sane football fan who has watched these two quarterbacks for the last 6 years of their NFL careers will tell you that Joe Burrow
has more wins on an NFL football field than Joe Burrow.
And Joe Burrow missed almost his entire rookie season because he tore his ACL.
Oh, so that's a positive for Burrow, but when Tua gets injured, it's a negative for him?
No, he tore his ACL. He hasn't played as many games as Tua has. It's not that crazy. And Hoch, so what if he has more regular season wins? What is his record against? And I hate doing this. I'm not criticizing Tua. He's playing great. He deserves praise. But what is his record against playoff teams?
What's Joe Burrow's record this season against playoff teams?
All right. So this season, Tua's having a better year than Joe Burrow.
Okay. Is he?
Perfect. I think that's fair. That's fair.
That's fine. I'll start there.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'll start there.
But what does it matter if you're not making the playoffs? That's what I don't understand. What are you doing here? What does it matter if Tua this year is outplaying Joe Burrow if the Dolphins are still below 500 and they're not going to make the playoffs? What does it matter?
Okay, but the Dolphins did make the playoffs the last two seasons under Tua, no?
And they lost.
But again, though, you're changing it. You're talking about making the playoffs because point I just asked you who's having a better season this season, and you said Tua, but they're not going to make the playoffs. So now I'm going to say, okay, but they did make the playoffs under Tua for a couple of seasons, no?
2 years in a row.
Okay.
The Dolphins made the playoffs.
So that has to count in your parameters. You just told me that that's the parameter for this season. So it has to have counted the last two seasons that he made the playoffs.
Okay.
Are the Bengals going to make the playoffs?
No.
Okay. Why?
They have not won enough games.
Because Joe Burrow stinks.
All right.
See? And that's what we have to do with these conversations.
No.
This guy's great and this guy sucks. No.
All I'm saying is, listen.
Solana, We are
Nobody's
arguing.
saying Tua sucks. That's
Solana,
what you guys do.
No. But you just said
you slander. You run my name through the mud by changing my argument from "Hey, Tua needs to be better" to "Tua sucks." Nobody's saying Tua sucks.
Solana.
Nobody. Everybody acknowledges Tua, when he's healthy, is a very good quarterback. But the same way we look at the Sixers and Joel Embiid and say, until they get out of the second round, we don't take them serious, is the same way people look at Miami, which is until they prove they can beat, and Tua proves they can beat teams that have been there and done it, then they can't go there and do it. It's not that hard of a concept. It doesn't mean Tua sucks.
No, and I gave you, because I said I'm on your side of Burrow versus Tua, I gave you an out. 5 minutes ago. I said we're splitting hairs between 7 and 9. And you said 7 and 9? I don't understand what you even say that for. That's what we're doing. We're talking about 2 top 10 quarterbacks.
That's my greater
Lamar
point,
Jackson,
is that
Josh Allen right now.
When you go, oh my God, it's Joe Burrow by a landslide because he did this one season and Tua hasn't yet. Like, I'm not so certain, because statistically you're splitting hairs between who's the better quarterback. Period. End of story. And the reason that I'd rather have Tua, I'm a Dolphins fan. You're not. I root for the team. You don't.
Okay.
You actively root against them.
I don't. I want the Dolphins on Sunday to go into Houston and win. I want these games to matter, but I know what's going to happen. We were in this exact same position a year ago. Dolphins, Tennessee, Baltimore, Buffalo to end the season. And we're all saying, well, maybe it's now. Maybe now is when they overcome the odds and win a big game. And I sat here and I said, I've seen this story before.
Well, why have the Bengals lost all those games, though, this season?
But, Hoch, you're looking at one season. What? Hold on. Okay, fine.
I'm using your parameters.
Fine. I know the answer to this because it was on the game. What was that last primetime game? They're scoring 30 points a game. That defense really sucks. That's why the Bengals are losing.
And it's the Dolphins story, too.
Hoch, what team would you have rather been a fan of over the past 5 years? The team that's gone to 2 AFC title games and was seconds away from winning a Super Bowl, and the Cincinnati Bengals, or the Miami Dolphins?
I'm a Dolphins fan. I mean, you're not. So no. I understand what you're saying, but I do that with the Marlins. I crushed the Marlins in the 2:00 hour, but also they gave me 97 in 2003. So you know what I mean? Like, I can still crush them for being a organization that doesn't seem to want to pay anybody, but they gave me 2 World Series that I got to root for. Like, I understand what you're saying. My greater point was, it's just not a slam dunk that Joe Burrow is head and shoulders above Tua because he did something a couple seasons ago, and it doesn't seem like he's able to do it this season, but who cares? Because a couple seasons ago, his team beat Patrick Mahomes' team. Like, I'm just not willing to make that leap. But my real greater point is, because I think you're representative of football fans and football media at large, is I think Tua is held to some weird standard that no other quarterback is held to. I just do. I don't know why, but I really believe it's true, because I believe that Tua and Joe Burrow are unbelievably similar quarterbacks when it comes to success in the NFL, aside from a Super Bowl or 2. Jimmy?
This is awkward.
Well, why? Don't you have an opinion?
You guys got quiet for there.
For where?
I don't know. I got nothing.
That's a nice
Puma. Okay.
Has a nice Puma mock.
You don't have an opinion? What do you think about Tua versus Joe Burrow?
I think right now.
Wrong. All right, let's get headlines from Solana. You didn't see that coming a mile away, Jimmy?
No, I didn't.
Headlines brought to you by Durrell Volkswagen. At Durrell Volkswagen, choose from over 300 new Volkswagen models in stock, like the Tiguan, Taos, and Atlas. And remember, when it comes to Volkswagen, the great deals are at Durrell Volkswagen. I'm just laughing because I know Solana is looking for any stat. I see him on the computer. He is looking for anything that will bolster his argument. So he's looking for stuff that he hasn't even thought of yet. He's like, there has to be something out here that makes this a definitive winner. And I don't know if he's found it yet.
Solana, go with your playoff win stat thing because there's nothing else other than yards per game career. I was doing it during the break.
Not looking for any stats. However, I will say texters kind of let me down on this one. All right. Not enough info sent my way. No, I understand what you're saying. You think Tua should be in that conversation. I don't, simply.
I just think he gets disparaged or dismissed very easily nationally. And I think it's an unfair, we do this. There have been plenty of great players on not so great teams in all sports, and we still recognize how great the player is. And with Tua, there just seems to be a different standard, and I don't know why. With Tua, it's like the success of the team is always based on Tua. Unless they're really good, then it's probably Tyreek Hill, and he should get the MVP votes. Yeah. Like I don't know why this weird thing happens consistently with Tua, and it's happening in the opposite with Solana's argument for Joe Burrow. He is ignoring the rest of the team and the actual stats and just saying that Joe Burrow single-handedly led the Bengals to a win over the Chiefs when it counted, when there's more to it than that. And when it is Tua, everyone loves to give the more to it. And when it's not Tua, no one wants to give more to it.
It's fair. Like part of that is true. Tua is held to a different standard. I agree with that. I think he is unfairly criticized, but I don't believe I disparage Tua. Truly, I do not. I think
nationally he gets disparaged and dismissed in a weird level, and he's really good.
I agree,
he's but really good. Adam Beasley, I told you, wrote a column. He should be getting MVP votes. He single-handedly returned. I'll read the article later. He single-handedly returned and saved a franchise's season.
Amazing.
The day he gets to the playoffs and wins games in the playoffs, I'm not saying he has to win a Super Bowl, but the day he's like Lamar Jackson, gets to the playoffs, wins multiple games in the playoffs, the conversation about Lamar has totally shifted. It's no longer, can Lamar be great? Is Lamar great? You know what the conversation is? Can Lamar win a Super Bowl now?
Same thing with Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler leads you to 2 NBA finals, and he's the exact Heat DNA guy that you want. But then all of a sudden it's like, well, where's the ring?
Where's the ring? And for Tua, he can't be in that conversation yet because he hasn't come close to it. The same conversations we're having about Tua, people were having about Lamar Jackson for years. The difference is he finally got on the cusp of it. So now the conversation is, can he win a ring?
I think we talked this one out. We've seen Joe Burrow compete and win in a national, worldwide televised platform. Tua's biggest stories of his career is getting concussions and losing playoffs or late in the season.
Yep.
No one's watching the Denver 70-point game. Everybody's watching Kansas City Dolphins in 4-degree weather last year.
And by the way, with everything I've just said here, this leads up to a Dolphins 40-point loss on Sunday in Houston.
Don't do that. It better be 80-40 because Tua better do something against CJ.
Can't believe you downplayed Burrow beating Mahomes. I respect your argument and skills.
But Eli's one of the best quarterbacks ever. He beat Brady one time.
2 times.
Okay, so Eli should be a Hall of Famer, flat out. He beat Brady.
He's literally going to be a Hall of Famer.
He beat Brady.
Yeah, you win big games doesn't mean you're better than the player you're beating. You win big games, you deserve to be respected for winning those games.
I think Matt Schaub beat Peyton Manning one time. Matt Schaub should probably be in the Hall of Fame, right?
You know what I'm saying is not the same
it's
as
not
one time head to head. You know it. You know what I'm saying.
What in the hell does a quarterback have to do with winning against another quarterback? They're literally don't even touch the grass at the same time.
The only two quarterbacks to have beaten Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs in the past 5 years, Tom Brady, Joe Burrow. That
the
is
Patriots and the Bengals.
Not the Buccaneers and the Bengals, but
however the hell he was at. It's that argument is goofy.
Okay. All right. That's fine. I'm with you on
who's the better running back? The running back on the winning team is the better running back, right? The better tackle is the better tackle on the winning team.
Come on.
So it's only quarterbacks. We only do this with quarterbacks?
Yeah. Literally,
we only do that with quarterbacks.
The most important position in any sport ever in the history of mankind. The quarterback, whether or not you want to believe wins or a QB stat, it is.
Tom Brady lost the Super Bowl because of the New York Giants front four. Did you watch the game? Eli probably had 170 yards passing.
So hold on a second.
Peyton Manning single-handedly won the Super Bowl in Denver.
There we go. He was out-dueling everybody. Out-dueling.
Guy couldn't feel his fingers, still won a game. I think he kind of did, man.
Solana.
Hey, Crowder,
Solana,
your argument
I'm
against
with
Dak
you
Prescott.
on this argument.
No, we're not, because your argument against Dak Prescott is what? Hoch, what is it? Dak Prescott, he's going to get to the NFC title game, and what's going to happen in the NFC title game?
49ers going to whoop his ass.
No. Dak Prescott is going to have the ball, and he's going to have to drive the field, and he's going to have to score a touchdown to beat the Niners defense, and he can't do it. So you can't criticize Dak for not being able to beat the Niners because you know he can't beat the Niners.
And did I say Brock?
But it's not Dak Prescott. Say the Cowboys can't beat the Niners.
Okay,
then.
Did I say Brock? Did I say that equals Brock is better than Dak? Because that's what you're saying. That equals Brock being better than Dak because I take that point on a quarterback needing to lead a late game drive. Solana, you're about to make me cuss because you're full of crap. Quarterbacks don't beat other quarterbacks. Their teams beat the other team.
Tua never lost a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow has. Thank you, Texter.
I don't even know. Man, I need a grit.
Well, you're lucky because Eduardo Solana is going to join us in the next segment. He's probably got one.